Thank you so much for completing the Integrated Nursing Pathway interview process. My name's Amy Sturrock, and I work with undergraduate students in the College of Nursing at the Anschutz Medical Campus. What I'm going to do during this session is go over next steps for the program and hopefully answer any questions you might have about how the program works. So we'll go ahead and get started. In terms of the question that everyone wants to know, we will make decisions by July 1st. And at that point, students will generally receive an email with an update as to their status. And basically, you would potentially have three outcomes for the decision. The first would be that you've been admitted to the program. The second outcome would be that you're selected as an alternate for the program. And what that alternate status would mean is that you would be invited to be an alternate in case an admitted student withdraws prior to the start of the fall, or you may be able to extend that alternate status by taking the INP courses in the fall and the spring. And if somebody drops along the way, you may be admitted into that person's spot. So just, more information will be given to you about that status if you are selected for an alternate status. And then the third outcome would be that you have not been admitted this cycle. And note that I'm always happy to speak with students after the end of an admission cycle. If you have questions about where your application may not have been as competitive, I'd be happy to go through those with those application factors with you to see if there's ways you could be more competitive moving forward. One important update I want to provide is about what happens with spring 2020 grades. I will be also sending this information by email, but the academic update period in nursing CAS will open May 28th. This is really important that you complete this process prior to Friday, June 12th. There are detailed instructions about how you complete the process. When you log into nursing CAS, on the main page, there's a notifications area that you'll be able to read the instructions about the academic update. And that should be posted beginning May 28th. So what I would suggest you do, though, is once your final grades have posted for spring, I'd go ahead and request an updated transcript to be sent to Nursing CAS, and that has to be an official transcript. And I would imagine you would do this electronically. I think most community colleges have the electronic transcript option, through which the transcripts are sent directly to Nursing CAS. But make sure that you do that. And then starting May 28th, you can actually begin the academic update process. And at that time, you'll edit your transcript entry for your spring grades so they can be updated from pending or in progress to those grades that you actually earned. And then the official transcripts have to be submitted to Nursing CAS on your behalf. Because we're in a very unprecedented time in this world, I wanted to mention again and reiterate our COVID-19 pass-fail grading policy for the spring 2020 courses. We are strongly recommending that students stick with the standard grading policy. And if there is an instance where a student has chosen the pass-fail policy and they've earned a pass grade, for the Colorado Community College system, my understanding is that a pass means you've earned a C or better. And in those cases, a student will have two options. If they stick with the pass grade, then we'll consider that course to be a C. And the C grade is what we'll use when we determine GPAs. We always need to have grades to be able to compare applicants. So we won't just accept the pass. We will convert the pass to a C. The other option that students would have is if they do have a passing grade, they have the option of having their faculty member or members, if it was more than one class, or their institution email our office directly with the actual grades that they earned. So for instance, if you're taking biology 111 and a pass shows on your transcript, and maybe you actually earned a B, then you would want your faculty member to tell us that so we can use the B in the calculation as opposed to the C. But if you have questions about this policy, please let me know. The INP orientation is typically held at the Anschutz Medical Campus in early August. Now, if I had to guess at this point, I'm thinking that we'll be doing orientation virtually in August, but we'll certainly let students know as soon as those details have been confirmed. And the IMP orientation will be a great time for you to learn more about the program and to also get to meet some of our current IMP students that have been in your shoes in the past and can give you some advice on how to proceed and how to be successful. So once we have further details, we'll certainly let students know. One other thing that I'll be doing in the next couple of weeks is to review any criminal disclosures that students may have included in their nursing CAS applications. This is really important for us to know a student's criminal history, to be able to share that with our clinical team in the College of Nursing to anticipate if there may be issues with future clinical placements. So once I go through that information and share it with our clinical team, if we have questions and need to take further steps to review that criminal history, then I will reach out to students directly to let you know what we need going forward. Once we have our admitted class, the community college partners will either email you our policy and guidebook for the program, and I think most schools actually have this posted already on their IMP pages through the community college website as well. But I'll also provide a link to our student handbook so students can understand the expectations for the nursing side of the program and also what the technical standards are for practice. So how does the program actually work? So for the students that are admitted for this cycle, they would do one more year at the community college before transitioning over to CU next summer. So that would mean the fall 2020 and spring 2021 semesters are completed in the community college. And then provided you have successfully completed your courses, then you would transition to the College of Nursing and join our traditional pathway program in June of 2021 with a graduation date of late May of 2023. We start very early in June typically, and we do have a mandatory orientation process that takes place the week before classes start. So just think about that, and you will have a small break between the time you'd finish spring courses in the community college and you would transition to Anschutz, but it's not a lot of time. So we just want to make sure students are aware of what the commitment would be in terms of the transition. Our total cohort size at Anschutz is about 180 students, and out of that total of 180, 60 come from integrated nursing pathway between our 3 community college partners for that program. And I don't share that number to have your anxiety rise. It's just we want students to know how many students are in the cohort, but also reflect on the beauty of the IMP program. One of the great benefits is that you're already going to know students in your IMP cohort if you're admitted, as well as some students in other IMP cohorts. So you've got a support group, you form study groups, and that really goes a long way in terms of your success and feeling confident and comfortable when you're moving over to Anschutz into a larger setting in terms of larger campus and also larger student body. And then, the other thing to think about is we don't have classes as large as 180. We normally break those down into at least 2 sections, so it's not quite as overwhelming. The clinical requirements, I'm going to go into in more details in just a moment, but these are the heart and soul of nursing. Everything revolves around the clinical requirements, so we're training you to be great practitioners. And so I'm going to go into more details about those in just a moment. We have a total of 65.5 semester credits in the nursing program. This includes didactic classroom learning as well as all the clinical rotations. And the way the program works is that it's 6 consecutive semesters: summer, fall, spring, summer, fall, spring. And then to talk more about that structure of clinical requirements, the way our program works is that students do about 800 clinical hours from start to finish. And, prior to COVID-19, I would say about 75% of our clinicals are done in live patient settings, what we call off-site clinicals or live patient settings. And then about, 25 to 30% are what we consider on-site clinicals. And these are clinicals where you learn with your peers in the simulation centers or in the clinical skills lab. Now, due to COVID-19, all of our classes currently are online, and we don't have really any other option at this point. And students are completing more clinicals virtually at this point. We don't know how things will be impacted, kind of thinking about the fall semester, but we're just going to have to see how things unfold to determine what will happen in the future. But generally speaking, students are doing most of their clinical hours in live patient settings. And we typically structure clinicals within groups of 6. So there's 6 students in a clinical group typically. You typically complete your clinicals with that same clinical group up until your senior immersion, which is when you're one-on-one. It's a very time-intensive clinical you do at the very end of the program. But up until that point, you typically rotate through your clinicals with the same group of students. There sometimes can be changes to who's in a group, but our clinical team tries to keep students together throughout the program. And, we definitely have clinicals on the Anschutz campus in Aurora. So you're definitely going to have some clinicals at UCH, which is our community health hospital. And, one thing that we want students to keep in mind is that our clinicals are scheduled all along the Front Range where we have partnerships. So because of that, reliable transportation is required for the nursing program. And you could be scheduled for clinicals as far south as Colorado Springs, and then all the way north to Loveland and everywhere in between. Okay, so just be thinking about that in terms of clinicals. And clinicals start the first summer and they spread throughout the 2 years. You'll do your first clinical course, which is health assessment, in that first summer of the program. When you finish everything, you'll have a Bachelor of Science degree in nursing. And what that degree allows you to do is sit for the NCLEX. And the NCLEX is the board exam to become a registered nurse. So just earning your bachelor's degree in nursing is not enough. It just allows you to be able to take that board exam, which is the NCLEX. And that is a high stakes exam. And so our program is designed to help prepare you for that exam. And, the NCLEX is something that you can take. It's multiple times during a month that you can take that NCLEX when you finish the program. And the great news is that we have a high pass rate in the CU College of Nursing. It tends to be somewhere in the low to mid 90s in terms of the percentile of students that are passing that exam, which is great. In terms of things to consider, think about the expectations of the program. We have high expectations for our nursing program, and the schedules are prescribed when you're at the community college as an INP student and when you also transition to CU. And what I mean by prescribed is everything is planned ahead of time in terms of the courses you take, the sections of those courses that you take. So you're not able to choose the courses that you're taking. And the same thing goes with the classes and the clinicals at Anschutz. So that's we always kind of joke, it's the good news and the bad news. The good news is you don't have to plan anything. We tell you exactly what you're doing and where you're doing your clinicals and when. The bad news is you can't change them. So basically everything in your life has to fit around the nature of this program. And so in the past, you've been able to put your schedules together and figure out, I'll take this class during the day, I could take this class at night. Well, that will change come the fall if you're admitted. And, like I said, we'll make decisions by early July. Excuse me. After that, the community college advisor will let you know about the schedule for fall and will help you get registered. And then when you transition over to CU, you then get a plan of study for your full 2 years. So you'll know the courses that you're taking. And that way, you obviously won't know the days and times of your classes until you register each semester, but at least you'll have a sense of what those courses will look like for you during that 2-year program. And getting back just to one aspect of the clinical rotations, you'll know your class schedule earlier than you'll know your clinical schedule. Our clinical team does their best to give schedules to students at least 3 to 4 weeks ahead of time, but sometimes they're not able to give them that early, and sometimes things can change at the last minute. So our team does their best to let students know if there are issues and how they're going to be resolved. And then one other thing I want to mention about the expectations is, just in case students were not aware of the exemption policy for students if you've completed courses in the past. And so what happens is we will allow one course to be exempted from the fall and one to be exempted from the spring if any of our admitted IMP students have taken those courses in the past and successfully completed them. Now, the courses have to be done within 10 years because that is our time frame for expiration. But let's say, for example, a student has taken microbiology and AMP1 previously and passed them. Since you may only exempt one course in the fall, and these are both fall classes, you'd have to retake one of those courses. And there could be an implication for financial aid. So we always want to encourage our students, if you're going to be retaking courses because of the INP guidelines, you may not be able to receive financial aid a second time you're taking these courses. And that's not a question that I can answer. You'd have to check with your financial aid advisor at the community college for clarity on that. And one other thing that I want to mention is you need to maintain, strong grades when you're in the IMP program if admitted. We require a minimum grade of C for each prerequisite, and you must maintain a 3.0 prerequisite GPA to be able to transition to CU. So just something to think about. In terms of balance, we try to talk about this a lot because it is so important. And we really want students to be thinking, is this the best time in my life? And am I ready for a nursing program because of the commitment? So think about the things in your life that are not going to change as you're going into this next journey. And thinking about your family commitments. Do you have kids? Do you want to work while you're in the program, or do you need to work? If you've got a lot of family commitments, it's really important to know who's going to support you when you need that support. And do you have family in the area? Do you have extended family? Do you have close friends, anybody in the community that can help you if you need it? And, one example I like to bring up is if you've got a clinical schedule that you have to be down in Colorado Springs at 6:30 a.m. and one of your kiddos gets sick overnight and can't go to school, who's going to take care of that child when you have to go to your clinical? Be thinking about plans A, B, C, because clinicals are typically not able to be rescheduled. And, our clinical team will work with students if there's really, there's situations that are out of your control, but, and they'll deal with those cases on an individual basis, but you really have to be thinking ahead of time, what's going to happen if, what are the what ifs in life? What if your car breaks down? What if something happens? How are you going to get to that clinical? So, just things to be thinking about. And again, just having a plan ahead of time is always what we recommend. When we think about students that have faced obstacles in the past, and whether they're integrated nursing pathway students or traditional students that have applied directly to that program, a lot of times it's when life gets out of balance is when issues arise. And, that may mean a student is working too many hours, or maybe they are just overextended in terms of personal or family commitments, and they're trying to be a full-time student. We don't recommend more than 15, 20 hours of work each week, definitely not full time. The students that have tried to do everything in the past, sometimes it works and sometimes students can make it work. I'm not going to lie, but a lot of times students find there's a breaking point and something suffers, whether it's their health, whether it's their relationships, whether it's their academic progress. We just don't want you to dig yourself into a hole and then you can't get out of it, and it becomes a really desperate situation. So, certainly think about working, and, each student is going to know their threshold. We can't determine what's going to work for one student, versus another. So just be honest with yourself as you're going into this journey if you're admitted, and really just be conscious of what you're doing and what you're committing to, because we want students to be successful. And that also includes planning financially, which we'll talk about in a little bit in terms of the cost, but also use your network of resources, outside of school as well as on campus. use your academic advising teams, your counseling teams, your financial aid advisors. If you have problems, reach out. We can't anticipate problems. We don't know if you're having problems unless you communicate that. So please, please, please talk with someone that you feel comfortable with and just say, I'm having issues. And we'll try our best to connect you with resources so that you can be successful. In terms of finances and cost, currently our tuition is $437 per credit hour at CU, and that's for Colorado residents who receive COP, which is the College Opportunity Fund. So $437 times our 65.5 credits, you'll see, is just under $29,000. That's the base tuition cost for the 2 years of nursing. For the cost of the next year at the community college, you'd have to work with your community college on those costs in terms of an estimate. But in terms of the nursing curriculum, this is just the base cost. So other program costs will include your textbooks, your supplies, your scrubs, student fees, lab fees. You know, there's lots of other costs that will come into play. And you also have to have student health insurance. There may be an opportunity for you to waive the mandatory CU health insurance if you have adequate coverage off campus, but these are all costs that you need to be thinking about when you're thinking about, am I ready for this next step in my life? And also note that our tuition may increase this fall. The tuition did not increase last fall, but it's very possible it could increase this year. So this is just an estimate to keep in mind as you're thinking about the future. And then you want to submit your FAFSA early each year. As you might know, the FAFSA years, the cycle is fall, spring, summer. So FAFSA opens October 1st each year, and that's for the following FAFSA year. So make sure you do your FAFSA early, because it is, you know, awards are given on a first come, first served basis. And, you know, the tricky thing with the transition to CU when you start in the summer is that summer of 2021 attaches to the fall 2020 and spring 2021 FAFSA. So if you've used all your potential aid between the fall and the spring, you may not have anything to transfer over to CU, and the tuition goes up at that point. And you typically will take 8 credits in that first summer. So you want to be really diligent in terms of saving money this next year, maybe holding back some of your loans if possible, or if you get a refund check in the fall and the spring, please consider tucking that away in savings so that you can use it when you transition to CU. I cannot underscore that enough. You don't want to be stressed out financially when you're starting a nursing program, because it's stressful enough as it is without having the financial concern. So please be prepared. Research all sorts of funding. Look at grants, look at scholarships, not only in your community colleges next year, but also thinking about maybe national scholarships or even local scholarships that can help pay for your nursing degree. We do have donor-funded scholarships in the College of Nursing, and those are typically awarded for fall and spring semesters. We don't have scholarship funding for summer, and it's a competitive basis. So what would happen is you will be able to apply for fall and spring awards if you're admitted to the program, and the earliest you would apply would be next April of 2021 for the fall of 2021. But note that we don't have any full scholarships in the College of Nursing. So they might be $1,000 or $1,500 for a semester, you know, if you were to be awarded funding. So please be thinking, you know, how am I going to fund my education? You know, if you can work part-time, that's great. But what happens if you plan to work, then you start the nursing program and decide, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I can't make it work. You know, what will you do at that point? So you just want to be thinking about, you know, every potential for funding. And the community college advisors are great. They are always sending students, you know, possible links to scholarships you could be looking at. And the College of Nursing website has a great external funding source page as well, where you can look at some of the off-campus scholarships that you might be qualified for as well. So definitely be doing that. So that's all I have for this presentation today. I've given you my email address, which I know you already have, but also my direct phone number. Right now, since I'm working remotely, I won't be answering that phone, but you can certainly leave a message. And I check my voicemails at home, and I can always call you while I'm working remotely. And You know, the things are very, very fluid and dynamic at this point with COVID-19. You know, we hope that things will be back on track, you know, for the summer of 2021 program. But if we anticipate any issues or problems, we'll communicate anything that arises as we go forward. And please let me know if I may be of further assistance. And again, be, you know, checking your email around July 1st so you'll know your status. And you know, we can go from there. But thank you again for completing the interview process for the INP program. This is a great program, and just let me know if I may be of further assistance. Take care.